Welcome back into room 442, and we're going to jump right into it. I'm joined with Mikey Singh, and Mike, I hear that you have quite the hot take that is going to upset some CF Montreal fans.
Yeah, I woke up early today and I decided to stir the pot a little bit. No, this is something I've been thinking about for quite some time. And I'll say that CF Montreal, you're a good team, but you're not a great team. And there's a couple reasons I say that. The first one, I don't think the Eastern Conference is that good this year. When you look at the elite teams in the East, it's the Philadelphia Union, who are in a class of their own. And then other than that, it's CF Montreal, the Red Bulls, and a New York City FC team that looks a shell of themselves since Nick Cushing took over that side. That's my first point. Secondly, their roster, while it's very deep and has some really good players like Alistair Johnson, who is one of my favorite players in the league, Kamal Miller, another great player, obviously Georgi Mihalovic, Romel Kyoto,
Kai
Kamara, but he's like 39 years old. They have really good players. Aside from Georgie, they don't have any stars on that team. So I wonder if they're overachieving a little bit just based on their roster. The third reason I'll say is their defensive record. Montreal's conceded 49 times this year. That's as many times as the Houston Dynamo have conceded in the Western Conference. If they were in the West, it'd be about the fifth most in the West. That's not a recipe for success in Major League Soccer traditionally. They've only conceded 8 less goals than Toronto FC have. And we know how bad Toronto FC's defense have been.
But there's a difference between the two. Montreal can score goals. They have 58 goals for, second highest in the Eastern Conference after Philadelphia. So I know what you're saying. Yeah, they're conceding a lot, but they're making up for it by scoring just as many goals or more, in fact, more, of course, to win these games.
Yeah, they do well to put the ball in the back of the net. But when you look at their goal scorers, their leading goal scorer is Romel Kyoto with 15 goals, 5 assists. So he's a good player. Again, is he a great player? I'm not too sure. And I go back to what I said. They're overachieving a little bit in that regard. Now, of course, when you're doing it over the course of a season, you got to say there's something actually there. Of course, they know how to put the ball in the back of the net. I don't think that's up for debate. But what is, I think, is their strength of schedule. Since June, Montreal have played, I think, 5 playoff teams, actually. And their record against those teams, they're 1 win, 2 draws, 2 losses. So when they've really been tested, they haven't been able to come out on top. So I wonder if, again, perhaps when playoff comes around, they face some really good teams. Are they going to be able to prove themselves? I'm not sure. I don't know if Montreal is as good as what the standings show right now.
It sounds to me like, ladies and gentlemen, we have a sour TFC fan over here. I think, okay, the scheduling, not up to them whatsoever. What you're saying, their record against playoff, teams, we're going to see that play out in a couple of weeks when playoffs start anyways.
Because they don't play another playoff team the rest of the year.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens. Do I think Montreal's going to win the entire thing? Absolutely not. But they are one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, and they've done really well to kind of take advantage of a situation they have. If they have a good schedule, they've done well. And like I said, they're scoring more goals than they're conceding. So even though they're letting a ton of goals in, they're still making up for it. And in terms of their star players, well, it's the same thing. They have a good squad. Might not be a great squad, but they're doing what they need to do.
So here's why I want to give credit to Wilfred Nancy, the head coach of Montreal, because I think this is where Montreal is in a really good spot. He, second year coaching this team, he's created and fostered a culture in Montreal that I think a lot of their players have bought into. I think a lot of their guys are on the same page. They seem like a cohesive unit. And I think this guy right here, Wilfried Nancy, is getting the best out of Montreal right now. And I think all the credit in the world needs to go to him because, again, I think based on what they have, they've overachieved a little bit. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out with Montreal. But yeah, that's my hot take today.
I mean, listen, I appreciate the take. I think you are a little bit damaged inside after what's happened with TFC.
So let me ask you then, next 5 years, who do you think has a better shot to win an MLS Cup? Toronto FC or Montreal?
I think it's hard to say because how long are these Italians going to be, good to go and ready to play? We know Insigne's older, Crescido even older than him. Bernadeschi, okay, he'll probably be there, but I think, we do have a lot of young talent on TFC, but I think you could say the same thing with Montreal. I think it depends on, I think coaching is really where this team, like both these teams, we're going to see like how that plays out because we know Bob Bradley is a good coach. Has he been able to pull the best side of, out of TFC yet? No. There have been things like injuries. We know that. There's been a lot of moving parts. Nancy's done that with Montreal. I don't know if I'm the best person to ask this question because I always have doubt in this TFC side. There's so much potential there. But right now, I think, we've seen Montreal kind of do better with the squad they have, and they didn't have to sign, 3 Italian superstars.
No, they're credit to them. They have a deep squad. They're doing really well. At the end of the year, they're going to be losing Georgi Mihalovic and Ismail Kone. Right? Those are 2 very important pieces to this team. TFC, on the other hand, they have an open DP spot. They have a lot of money coming off the books. I think TFC, with the framework that they have, are closer to an MLS Cup contender. And that's just going back to my original premise that Montreal is a good team, but they're not a great team.
Well, we'll see what everyone has to say about that. Thanks for joining us. Mikey's hot take. Montreal's just not as good as we think they are.